Hey everyone, welcome back to another speed build video. I hope you've had a great time since I've talked to you last, and I hope you're ready for today's video. So today's build kind of tells a story. It's a story of a mother who lost her daughter, and this house that she lived in with her has kind of fallen into disarray since. So it's this sort of haunted mansion vibe where you can tell that everything used to be very cozy and thought out, but as this woman is sort of just missing her child, she's just staying in, nothing really gets updated or fixed, and everything just kind of breaks down, and you know, there's cobwebs everywhere, and I don't know, it's sort of creepy, but also, I don't know, I thought it was really fun to build something with a story. So for example, when you get to the bedroom of the child that died, you can see that is like a lot of things are put into boxes, and you know, there's kind of like an altar where the mom can, you know, think about and reminisce about her child, and, you know, a little rocking chair in the corner, but all that we'll get to. I don't know. In my save, the story is that the child died by drowning in the lake outside and is sort of just connected to the house now, and that is also, you know, the mom just can't leave because her child is there as a ghost, you know, and she's just feeling stuck. And I don't know, I think it's fun to tell stories with these kind of builds. Obviously this is sort of a sad one, but it just kind of came naturally as I was doing this whole build. I actually didn't really set out to do a haunted mansion at all. It just kind of happened. And I think it was also kind of fun to see where this process naturally took me, because a lot of my builds already have stories attached or come from some specific inspiration. Like right now I have a huge backlog of amazing suggestions from you guys, and I love the suggestions, and I love to, you know, kind of take them in and create and make all these builds inspired by your comments, and like I truly love that. That's my favorite thing, and I love having all these that, you know, I'll get to, but it was also kind of fun to just see where this would take me naturally. I did build this, start building this at least, a bit before I started getting more suggestions. My channel's been doing better recently. Also, if you haven't already, you should maybe consider subscribing. That would be very, very helpful to me. And you know, I'm really loving seeing this channel grow, even though I don't post very often, and yet I still get new subscribers almost every day, and it's so, you know, weird and fun, and I love having this little, you know, Sims world here. And I guess I'm just very thankful to everyone who's like watching these videos and liking and subscribing and all that fun jazz. But yeah, since I've been getting more, you know, views and comments and a few subscribers, a few people have started to give me the ideas that I'm always asking for. Like in all of my videos, I'm like, please leave your comments down below with suggestions. And now I have so many to get to, and also I've become really slow at building and creating videos and cranking them out, so I feel a little bit bad because I've kind of like made everyone come give me all their suggestions, and then I went radio silent because I don't have enough time to work on my hobby. Or I guess I do, I'm just overwhelmed with other stuff in real life too. But it is also really fun because it makes you feel kind of wanted, you know, like someone asking me to build something is like, ooh, I'm special, they want me to build it. Ooh, I gotta get to that. So I really don't want to disappoint everyone, and I still want everyone to send their suggestions, but this was started before anyone was really watching this channel. So I just kind of thought I should finish it and get this out of the way so I can start working on what people really want to see, but I hope that you also want to see this. I know that I actually really liked how this turned out. It is built in the world that came with the vampire expansion pack, not expansion, game pack, I think. I think it's called Forgotten Hollow. and I don't build there often because there aren't very many lots, but I think, you know, it kind of fit the vibe. I think when I really started out, I wanted to go for something that was very like Louisiana inspired, or at least inspired by what my own bias and preconceived notion about what a Louisiana mansion would look like, because I am not American. I am from Denmark, so maybe soon American anyway. Just kidding. We're not gonna go there, but I definitely have a lot of like ideas about what Louisiana looks like and the swamp and all that, and it probably doesn't really look anything like this, but you know, there are all these witchy vibes like the Bayou, and it's very like inspired by, you know, pop culture and what I've seen, you know, throughout my life. And it's just so funny how that just becomes a medley in your head that really doesn't have any basis in reality, but it's just kind of this place. I remember when I was small, I was with my brother, and I don't remember if it was Miami or Malibu, but we were talking to some kids, and they're like, oh, our favorite sports team is from Miami. And then my brother was like, shut up, that's not a real place. Because to us, it was like a place of fiction, because all you ever see is it on TV. And I don't know, it's kind of funny with things like that, where it's like, hey, yeah, no, actually it does exist, and real life people live there. That was also very crazy. I once went to New York City, and New York City might as well have been fiction to me, you know. When you haven't ever been there before, and then suddenly I'm walking around this whole place and it just looks like a giant movie set to me, because I've seen all of it before. You know, I've been all these places in the million of movies and TV series I've watched. I don't know, I think that kind of thing is really funny, how things don't really seem real and then suddenly you're there and you're like, wait, things look like this? I was also really surprised when I went to North America for the first time. I went there when I was 16 as an exchange student, and I just remember thinking like, wait, I thought that houses didn't actually look like that. I thought that was just sets. You know, I didn't understand that, you know, the architecture was so different, that, you know, all these amazing, you know, suburban houses that you watch on TV where they got pools in the back, I thought that was just something that was built to portray really rich families. And obviously a lot of them were still rich, you know. But I did not figure that, you know, those suburban houses really looked like that in real life. It's so different from, you know, the very basic brick houses that I was used to. I don't know, I kind of got sidetracked there for a bit, sorry. But I think it's interesting, things like that. I mean, I don't know, an American might feel the same way if they suddenly stand in Switzerland and in a beautiful cobblestone street with all these greenery and mountains surrounding it, and everything is 300,000 years old. I mean, even for me, that would feel like stepping into a fairy tale, you know, as if you just suddenly was transported into, you know, the Disney world of Rapunzel or something. And actually, speaking of the Disney world of Rapunzel, one of the builds I'm working on behind the scenes, behind all the other ones that I'm working on, is a super fairy tale like build. So I'm basically making, it is for fairies actually, but I'm basically making this town square with all these little houses and shops, and it's all very magical and lots of plants, so I'm very excited about that. But I'm obviously also really excited about this build in particular. I've been working on it for so long, and it's just been sitting on my computer, and I've had a really hard time, you know, making myself do the voiceover. But right now we're going to the outside, and I think the outside ends up really cute actually. I really do love the landscaping it ends up with. I think it's very overgrown and swampy, and I just really like, you know, when landscaping is sort of wild, and you can kind of tell that there would be all sorts of frogs and critters hiding around in the, you know, in the landscape there, and I just think it's so magical. I love that. In Denmark we have a term called vild med vilje, which kind of means wild on purpose, and it's about that sort of landscaping where, you know, it's just overgrown, and it's very good for biodiversity, obviously, but I just love how it ends up. But I think we're going to head inside for a bit more on this build, and then we'll go back and finish the landscaping a little bit later. So at this point, I'm starting to kind of just like plan out what the rest of the house is going to look like, you know, what wallpaper to put everywhere, and you know, just mapping out the house, kind of deciding, you know, which room is whose room and all those things. So it's just, I don't know, I really like how it ends up. It's a very moody house in general in the end. Okay, now I'm starting to work on this bedroom I was talking about for the child that was dead, and I love those, you know, pink colors. A lot of them came with the Life and Death pack, and I just think they're really beautiful. But I'm putting all these like boxes as if half of her room is boxed up and kind of packed away, and I don't know, maybe the mom started packing all those things down before she realized that the child, you know, became a ghost and was still kind of around, or maybe she's just insane. I don't know. It's kind of like fun for storytelling. Either way, she definitely sees her dead child, and you can play as it if you decide to make a family like the one I did. But yeah, I'm kind of doing this room where it's kind of fallen apart, and there ends up being, you know, kind of an altar, and I put this rocking chair with a little picture and some, you know, Kleenex and things like that, so she can just sit there and cry and think about this child that she lost. But obviously she hasn't really lost the child because it's a Sims and it's back. So it's a happy ending, but I think for storytelling purposes, it was a really fun room to decorate, where you can tell that she wasn't really ready to let go. So we have that little altar thing with a few extra candles and baby pictures, and then some of the things are not, you know, unpacked yet or packed. Some things are still up, but they're still growing all these you know, cobwebs around, and I'm putting down, you know, you can really tell that this room is in like a rough shape, and just like the rest of the house, it's kind of falling apart. And I don't know, I just think it's a really, you know, fun storytelling. I would watch this as a movie. Okay, so I definitely didn't make the mom's room as gruesome. It still has, you know, a lot of photos up and things like that, but I am putting down, you know, some hints that she is still not doing good. So I even put on the bedside table, I am putting this, you know, a nectar drink that they have from Horse Ranch, and it just kind of looks like a bottle of wine, which is kind of what the, you know, nectar making is kind of alluding to. And then there's, you know, this broken mirror, and, you know, everything is still sort of falling apart, but you can tell that, you know, when she created the room or decorated it, it was actually quite grand. But it was really fast to make. It was a small room to decorate, so that was kind of it for that one. And then I am moving on to the bathroom, and I really loved doing the bathroom in this house, especially this big bathroom upstairs. I stacked all these tables. I don't know what they're from, which pack, maybe, I don't know, but they look like kind of small IKEA tables, but I stacked them in the corner to kind of look like, you know, chunky shelves. And I just wish we had shelves in this game that were, instead of just being all those like long and skinny, I want them to be long and wide too. It would definitely be fun to have them be as wide as one of the walls are. You know, the walls are all specific widths, you know, they move on the tile system. And I wish we had them so we could make built-ins like that. You know, I really like built-in stuff. So that's my my little wish list. But I think the bathroom in general ended up very cute and well decorated. I even put this little bathrobe and I made it tiny and pink so it matched the child's room. So you can tell that, you know, this was a family bathroom, and I made it very cluttered, and I think it's really cozy. I know a lot of people don't really like those kind of old school brown bathrooms and stuff like that, but I think they're very cozy. And I think it ended up really nice, especially, you know, in comparison to the rest of the house, it's actually doing fairly well. But yeah, I think it ended up really cute. And then the bathroom downstairs, or I guess, is it only a half bath? You know, those that only have, you know, a toilet and a sink. Either way, it ends up pretty much the same as this, reusing the same sink and, you know, toilet and stuff like that. But it really is just, you know, a small downstairs bathroom. I use a different mirror and some different decorations, like the cats and dogs paintings, but it is just, you know, a simpler downstairs bathroom with kind of the same stuff. And yeah, that's kind of it for the bathrooms, I guess. I think they end up really cute. But now I am going to the outside again. I think this is where I went back and did all my finishing touches. I often do that where, you know, I make the house, I finish it, I start editing, like most of it, and then I go back and, you know, make all the little touches that I wish I had included before. And also I just always, you know, I hate finishing stuff, I guess. I always, I never, you know, get to a point where I'm like, this is done. But anyway, I'm kind of getting there with this one. I think the landscaping that I'm working on now ends up really nice, as I talked about before. And this is kind of when I am adding all these wild elements that makes it more swampy and overgrown. Also, in general, I really like decorating lakes. I found that it's really fun to put all that extra landscaping around, but also I think I just saw this one small TikTok video one time where someone was, you know, doing this little tutorial on how to level up your ponds and your lakes in The Sims, and, you know, they just made everything click for me. So I started putting out, you know, a lot of stones and things around, and I just think all my lakes have been really cute since I saw that video. And, you know, it's not groundbreaking in any, you know, big way, but it just kind of, you know, sometimes you just need to find that little bit of inspiration. And yeah, I definitely, like, I put lakes or rivers or ponds in almost every build now. If I don't have one, it almost feels empty. And if my lot is not big enough for one, I get, you know, a little bit of, oh, I hate that. I almost didn't have room for one. I had to move the house a lot on this one to make room for it. Oh, and also over here, I'm making this really cute stargazing hangout spot. I actually think that ends up really cute in the back of the lot with, you know, a lot of plants around. So it's kind of like, you know, put in there. I would love to have a spot like this in my own garden one day, when I get a big enough garden that I can have a huge tree to just lie under. And I think that spot ends up really cute. And in general, this is kind of it. I am finishing the house now and finishing the landscaping. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and I'll be back eventually. Okay, thank you so much. Bye!